Alrighty, welcome everybody to our 53rd or 54th episode of Brownsville Tech Live. And in the house tonight, we've got our primary co-host, Steve Rodriguez. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, Mr. Salinas, for inviting me once again. The reason I had not been back is that some people actually have to work.
Well, I work too.
All right. Anyway, I just want to wish everybody, hopefully they had a Merry Christmas. And tomorrow is New Year, so whatever you guys do, be safe out there.
I know. It is New Year's Eve tomorrow. And I've got some special music.
Ooh, hey, I want to hear. Well, Happy New Year, everybody.
I'll lower the volume. So anyway, what have you been up to?
I said work, and pay those Christmas bills.
Oh, man. They shouldn't come due until next month.
Hey, they came due early. So, buy now, pay later is buy now and pay later.
I know. So, especially with some of these 4-pay plans, they break them every 2 weeks. It's not like pay them like 6 months from now.
I know.
Actually, surprisingly,
they are so convenient.
I know. I've used them quite a bit this past Christmas season, to be honest with you. Actually, I started using them since October, and they do become handy, The nice thing about it is, that 4 months, not 4 months, but 4 payments later, you're out of it.
That's it. It's done.
It's done. Now, of course, there's other companies like Affirm that will let you go, 12 months out, and for maybe
18.
Or 18. So any bigger ticket item, it's probably worth it. I've actually used Affirm for my pool supplies.
All right. I used Affirm. Remember that big freeze that we had?
Yeah.
All right. Well, and when people went to other countries and we had to stay home.
Yeah.
Well, I learned and I ordered a generator.
You had to put politics into it.
I just said people.
Are you talking about 2 particular individuals that went to Cancun?
I don't know what you're talking about, sir. I don't know what I just said. People, all right, sir. All right, hey. Anyway, going back to
one, you get too close to home on one of them.
Hey, if it's in that way, it was not my intent. My intent is talking about the whole freeze that we had, and I ordered a generator through Affirm with 18 months with 0% interest.
Wow.
And my payment was $100 a month.
Wow. And on the generator, did you how many watts did you get it for?
Man, the biggest and the baddest that they had at that time.
Yeah.
Right? And I got propane and gasoline.
So which one have you tried? The gasoline or the propane?
Both.
Oh, wow.
Both. And both of them worked like a charm.
Wow. Well, I've been still, on the fence about the generator, but I'm probably going to have to get one here in the spring. But I have a pool cleaner I have to buy first, which is a little bit more important. So
right.
So anyway,
so all right, Dan, what's our show about tonight?
Well, our show is for those of you who got a brand new TV. I'm pretty sure you got one. It's probably sitting in the box somewhere, and you're still trying to figure out whether you're going to mount it or put it on a TV stand. So I don't know if you were one of the lucky ones.
She was getting me a TV?
Huh?
Did Nancy tell you she was getting me a TV?
No, but I figured you would.
No TV this year.
Well, no I didn't get a TV. At least I didn't buy one, but I am getting a hand-me-down. No stolen.
Hey! How big?
65.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Somebody loves you, man.
I know. I'm a good boy.
I don't believe that one.
I'm a good son-in-law.
Oh, oh,
Oh God.
yeah. Alrighty. Anyway,
Anyway, uh, so what can I say? But no, I don't have it yet. So anyway, what was I going to tell you? So basically, for those of you out there that have gotten a brand new TV, it's still sitting in the box. There's a couple of things that you want to consider when you want to mount it on a wall or if you want to put it on a TV stand. So the main thing in this process is basically, the biggest thing is location, location, location. Did you see my new animated graphic down
yeah,
there?
it's nice. Hey, I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, you're
Yeah,
moving
so
up in the world.
I know. I know pretty soon there'll be all kinds of stuff flying. But
Woo.
uh we're going to give a few quick tips. I mean, we're not the Geek Squad. And by the way, there's going to be an opportunity to vouch for the Geek Squad, but we'll get to the last slide on that one. So
All right.
basically, location, location, location. That's the important thing. You want to be able to look at location as a very important thing. And I'm going to go ahead and flip real quick to our slide here, and we'll talk.
Hey, do we have a theater?
Actually, the theater's gone away since the last time you're on. Yeah,
What?
Doug didn't like it anymore.
I didn't approve those changes, sir.
I
All
know,
right?
I know. But
I didn't approve of those changes.
he
So,
was
hey,
he was working hard while you were playing hooky.
well, some people have to work.
I know. He's retired, so he doesn't have things to worry about.
All
So-
right.
So basically, the main thing is location, and I'll go ahead and talk about that first. You want to pick the right location. So one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is the proportion of the TV versus the wall. So what
That's
you
a
want
big word.
I know, proportion, right?
Yeah,
So-
man.
So basically, what you want to do is you want to make sure that your TV's right in the center. Okay, that means to the right it should be X amount of inches, and to the left it should be X amount of inches. And that's not
Are we
always.
talking about TVs?
Yeah, we're talking about TVs.
Oh, all right.
No, so no, we're talking about TVs. So one of the things that a lot of people that it happens to a lot of people, they go out and buy a 65-inch, a 75-inch, an 80.
Or they get it given to them by their father-in-law.
Right. Yeah, some of us are lucky,
All right.
but
Mhm.
like I said, I haven't seen it yet, so
Uh-huh.
But anyway, what happens is they go to the store and they see this big TV, and then they come home and they bring the TV, they take it out of the box, and they find out when they're about to mount it, or they mount it, the TV doesn't look as big as the wall, And unfortunately, that's one of the things we do have to talk about is, the bigger the inches, the better it is to avoid that disappointment. I remember back when I used to work for a previous company,
You worked?
yeah, I actually worked,
Oh, wow.
somewhere on
all right.
site,
Wow.
and what we did is we had this big theater screen, okay, that we used for the PowerPoint meetings and stuff like that. And it was huge. So you could actually project quite a bit. Well, during that time period, you started seeing companies switching over to TVs in their conference rooms. And one of the
Yes.
very first things that I told somebody is, you're going to be disappointed because once you put that TV on the wall, it's going to look small. Period. It's going to look small. And so just a tidbit that I didn't include in this slide is the bigger you can afford, the better, so that you avoid the disappointment, because it's going to be small compared to the wall, unless the wall is small or slightly small. So, but the location's important not just because of size, it's also about viewing angle. And if you get an LED TV, you're not going to get a viewing angle to the right or to the left at an angle. LED TVs are made to be viewed straight ahead. So one of the things you have to consider is how you position your furniture with regards to your guests, with regards to viewing angle. Because if you get an LED TV, you're not gonna, the people on the side are not gonna see it as well as the person sitting in the front. So that's uh, tip number one. And then the other
So
thing
you
to,
sit your guests on the left and the right, and you sit in the middle.
pretty much, yeah.
All right. Good,
Yeah.
good. All right.
So then the next thing you have to consider is the windows in your room. And that's because of the glare and the sun
glare.
exposure. You know,
Yes.
nothing sucks more than mounting a TV somewhere and all this light is coming in so you can't see what you thought you could see before. You'll have to incorporate curtains, but not just any curtains. You want to incorporate curtains that actually block the light. Like I've got these pink curtains over here.
Pink from
Pink.
Victoria's Secret.
I don't know where they came from, but they were in my daughter's room, but they blocked the light.
All right,
And
you don't have to
so,
answer.
yeah, so you'll have to incorporate light blocking curtains in order to block out the light. Yeah.
Have you mounted any TVs yourself
Yeah, I have quite a bit of them
on the wall?
on the wall. Yeah.
I've never mounted any TVs on the wall. I
Well,
always have a TV stand.
you know, I'm very picky when it comes to mounting. You know, I like to mount things proportionately. I don't like to see the TV off one way or the other. That really bothers me. That's the very first thing that I notice when I go into anybody's house is how
That's
they
why I
have
don't
the
invite you to my house.
is how they have the
Andas
TV
de
position.
chonito nomás.
No, chonito. It's just that, you know, those things are catch my eye right away, you know.
Nosy.
I
But
mean,
that's all right.
I used to mount a lot of them at one of the other places I worked too. You know, medical dashboards. So we use TVs as big monitors for medical dashboards. And, you know, I was very picky when it came to how those TVs were mounted and how they were mounted. And the big thing, as you already know from past podcasts, is I don't like cables,
Right.
especially when it comes to a TV. Nothing irks me more than seeing a nice TV and then you've got the electrical cable coming down and then you've got the cable wire coming down. And in fairness to most people, the houses are not wired for this kind of stuff. I mean, nobody anticipated, you know, years ago that houses were going to have flat screen TVs on walls, you know. So the houses are not made that way. So it's important that you kind of plan ahead when it comes to the cables, whether it's cable TV, whether it's the HD antenna cable coming for the HD antenna, the HDMIs, and we'll talk a little bit about how many HDMIs. You want to at least have 4 HDMIs cables coming from the TV down to, well, from the source to the TV, because you've got cable boxes, you've got video game consoles. There may be somebody who still uses a DVD or a Blu-ray player. You also want to consider audio cables. You know, do you want to have RCA component cables? That's the red and the white cables. Do you want to also consider, you know, optical cables, because, you know, some of the TVs have an optical in and out, you know, or do you want to stick with the HDMI sound that comes through the regular, you know, HDMI? But those things are important. So if you want your TV not to have cables, then you've got to run wires appropriately. If you're good with electricity, a lot of times you can do it yourself. But if you're not comfortable with electricity, I suggest you get somebody to do it for you that knows what they're doing. because one of the things that can happen is the wrong wiring set a certain way can cause a short. It'll damage your equipment. I think that's what happened to our TV in the bedroom. There was a short, and of course, yours truly ran the wires himself. So
I have
maybe.
another theory of what happened with that TV, but I cannot mention it on on the podcast. But
Okay.
that's all right. That's all right. Sorry. All right. Um,
So so location, location, location is very, very
so
important.
you're saying center mass, all right? You know, same inches from the left, same inches from the right,
Right,
and that way you'll be able to view it.
right.
What about the plasma TVs or any other TVs?
Well, plasma, I seriously doubt they're selling any more plasma TVs, but
But for those of us that are poor and still have the plasma ones,
you can't you,
huh?
you shouldn't have a plasma TV in these
Why not?
days. It's
I don't have a
2023.
father-in-law that's going to be a TV. All right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not a plasma TV, by the way. So,
All right, all right. Continue.
all right. So the location's very important. I mean, there's no doubt. You don't want to put it near windows. You want to make sure how you position your furniture and so forth. So one of the things that you also need to consider is your eye level. If you're going to center the TV on the wall, or you put it on a tabletop stand like it is right there, you want to make sure that your TV is set to eye level. And one of the things I think you've noticed, especially on the internet and a lot of home improvement shows, is this notion of putting the TV on top of the fireplace. Now, granted,
Yes.
here there in Brownsville, we don't have
We
too
don't
many
have any
houses
fireplace.
with fireplaces, and those that do, they're kind of fake. But sorry, Doug, but yeah, you're one of those people.
Eh. Shots fired, shots fired. He said
But
it does not mean
but one of the things that is important is that you want to make sure that your eye level and your TV are at the same level, because you're going to have issues not only with viewing, but you're also going to have issues with your neck. I mean, have you ever gone to the movies? You get there late and it's a hot movie and you can't find a seat anywhere, so you have to sit in the front row and then watch the movie like this, and after about 20 minutes your neck hurts. Well, that's
I've
exact
heard of it.
yeah, so that exactly is what happens, even in the home environment. They mount these TVs on top of the fireplace, and the next thing you know, they've got to go see a chiropractor because their neck is hurting.
Yep, they're
So
always looking up.
they're always looking up. So the chart says here that the TV needs to be at centered at eye level and no greater than 42 inches from the center of the TV down to the floor. That's the golden rule. So,
And where
if,
did you get all this information from? What source?
oh, just me and my magic hat.
All right, all right, all right. I reveal your sources. All right, awesome. All right.
So that's one of the things you want to consider. Now, and of course, we're not going to talk too much about the TV mounted on the TV stand. We're not, what basically here is we're focusing on mounting these TVs on walls. And by the
Oh
way,
well.
I don't know if you noticed, but I don't have the comments on. So if anybody
Yes.
wants to comment, you can still comment, but I'm not going to display it. We've had a few hackers
Oh
in the last
my.
couple of shows that have tried to interject some porn over YouTube. So because I don't want to be controlling the messages at the same time, I decided to turn it off for tonight. So if you want to comment or you've got a question, you can still post it on Facebook or YouTube, and we'll actually send a response back to you after the show. But unfortunately, because we still don't have that control yet from YouTube, we kind of have to monitor those comments, moving forward. It was set on auto, and I just can't allow that anymore. So, but anyway, so that's eye level is pretty important. Eye level is pretty important. It is a big deal, when it comes
Hey, but
to.
all right, Dan,
Uh huh.
you and me are average height.
Yeah.
What about those people that are not average height, meaning low or high? All right. So when they set it at their eye level, it's gonna be to yours and my eye level.
Well, theoretically, it's the legs on a human being, I think, that dictate the height. I don't think from the waist to the base of the neck that it's any longer or not. I don't think so.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert in anatomy, but I would think that everybody's base to where your belly button is, I think everybody's about the same. I think it's the legs and the arms and maybe the neck that are
All right, all
different.
right.
So
But
maybe
I was
it's
thinking,
not a big deal.
what if somebody's 6'5", 6'7", all right, or somebody's 4'1",
What's that
all right.
chingado?
Damn, all righty now, all right.
I mean, what else
Uh,
can I say? What can I say? But one of the things you want to also look at that is pretty important once you figure out what wall and once you figure out the level, you want to look for some other important things. And one of the things is you want to look out for the studs.
Is that me? Stud.
And of course, you want to be able to mount your mounting bracket against a stud, a physical stud in the wall. The last thing you want to do is to use those anchors and try to connect that. And there's people that have done that thinking that the wall will hold. Well, it's not going to hold. So a lot of times in the old days, the old maestros used to use the knock on the wall, and if it sounds hollow, there's nothing there, but if it sounds a little harder, it's there, and
There.
that's where you do that. But you don't have to go that route anymore. You can get yourself a stud finder. They're about $14.
Yep.
And they do a pretty good job. The only place that they don't work is if you have a popcorn ceiling. You're not going to find that it's not going to be very successful to find the studs. I had to do that one time when I installed in-ceiling speakers. I was trying to find the way the rafters went, and I literally had to dig a test hole and kind of stick like my cell phone camera to see exactly where the rafters were going. But I got it. It's just that it's not easy. Of course, I could have gone to Harbor Freight and gotten one of those little probe camera things. That would be the easy thing to do. But one of the things is you want to be able to use a stud finder. Those really work, and they do find. And typically, what it is it detects the edges of the stud, not the actual stud itself. So depending on which direction you go to, you'll pinpoint the left side and the right side of the stud. So in between those two marks is the actual stud. So I've got a couple of these and they work great. I don't think I could live without them. Otherwise, I would have had all kinds of holes in the wall. Of course, my wife says that I still make holes in the wall.
You still make
You
holes
know
no
that
matter
I
what.
don't ever cover back. So and that may be true, but that's pretty important. Now, what happens if you have a situation where your mounting bracket is shorter than the stud or there's not enough stud? Because in residential, it's every 16 inches there's a stud. So typically that's the rule, but as you know, the home builders don't always follow that. So what happens in a situation where you don't have that, but you need the stability? Well, one of the things you can do is you can go buy yourself a 3/4 inch plywood, And I had to do that for my daughter's computer monitors when I was mounting them. I didn't have enough studs and the brackets were smaller. So I literally put a 3/4 inch plywood, cut it to size, bolted it down to the studs, and then that gave me wiggle room to move back and forth to position it. In either case, the 3/4 inch plywood was behind the monitors, or in this case, the TV, so you'd never see it. At the place that I used to work for, we ran into that situation, but it also was a benefit because we could actually mount like the small form factor PCs behind it. We could mount the electrical power sockets, and at the end of it all, you couldn't see anything. And if you can color match the paint, people won't even notice it. So there's different
Right.
ways you can hide this stuff. So um, one of the things that a lot of people say, well, what kind of mounting bracket do I use? Well, there's actually three types, believe it or not. There's actually three types of TV wall mounts, and there's a flat, there's a tilt, and there's a turn. And that the flat is the best. Excuse me. The flat is the best TV wall mount for a smart flat screen TV that's going to be in a central location. That means you're not going to wiggle it. You're not going to wiggle it up or down or left or right. The TV stays where it's at. There's no tilting back and forth. So for a flat, you want to do that. And by the way, I have my pictures wrong. This one's the flat and this one's the tilt. So somehow
I was going to say something about that. No, I better not.
yeah, I just noticed it right now. But yeah, so this would be an example of a flat. It just lays flat. The one that I have in my bedroom, that is a flat. There's really no need.
I don't know. I've never been to your bedroom, so
Yeah,
I
I
don't
know.
know.
I know. Good
Right.
thing you haven't, so.
Yeah, yeah. And you have a mounting holder, but you don't have a TV. So
No, I do have the TV. The broken one's still there. I don't know how I'm going to get rid of it, but anyway. So you have the flat, and like I said, that's for TVs that are just going to be stationary. Then you have those that are the tilt, and those are good when you want to counteract reflections or sunlight. And the picture at the top is an example of a tilt wall mount. It goes up and down for the most part. Now, a lot of times you also can look at a turn wall mount, okay? And that one gives you not the ability just to tilt up and down, but it allows you to move the TV, above, right and left and to certain angles. So there's an advantage to using those TVs. The problem with that is that you're not going to be able to put a very heavy TV on one of those because, as you can see, it's just one thing to a stud. So, but those are the three types primarily. There's flat, there's tilt, there's turn, and I've used all of them. And
do you know the price?
well, you can get some for as low as, $30 on Amazon, and they go all the way up. If you go to Best Buy, they may sell you something that's expensive and may include some cables along the way. There's all kinds of different varying types and prices. But to be honest with you, it really doesn't matter because it's not really the wall mount that matters. It's how secure it is to the wall.
Right.
That's really the important thing. I've got different mounts. I've even got ceiling mounts that I've used outside. But they all work the same way. The main thing is you want to be able to use, a stud or something that will hold that TV in place. That's pretty important. If you don't
Yes.
start there, you're just asking for trouble. So, but regardless of the mounts and the studs and the wall, I mean, what do you actually need to get started? Well, one of the things is you definitely never want to go in dry. When
My intention there.
Well, what I mean by that is you don't want to just go with a screwdriver and a hammer like a lot of people do. There's a couple of tools that'll make life easier. But there are times that people do what they do with, as little as possible. I mean, that magic works. It's worked for millennia. But having the right tools helps. And one of the things you definitely want to start off with is a tape measure. You do not want to go and measure, take a 12, what is it? An 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and use that as a ruler. You don't want
Why
to
not?
do you don't want to do the Mexican thing of go pie por pie, thinking that you're 6 foot, your 6 inch, what is it? No, it's six. Yeah, it's 6 inch foot is going to be the same as a ruler. But you definitely want to get a tape measure and one at least 50 feet so that you can measure correctly. You can also use a laser pointer as well. Those come in handy when it comes to leveling and stuff like that. Like I mentioned before, you definitely want to get a stud finder. If you're good at hearing and you can do the old knock, well then, go at it. Knock yourself out, as they say. But there's no reason to do that. It's a $14 device. You put a 9-volt battery in, and it works like a charm. You'll find those studs one way or the other. So the other thing that comes in handy, unless you want to get arthritis, is a cordless drill or a cordless screwdriver drill. I mean, if you want to be pretty strong and use the old screwdriver, go at it. But that comes in pretty handy as well. You also want to get yourself some drill bits. It does make a difference. If the shaft of your screw is actually, and don't think anything else about that, if the
I
shaft
didn't
of your
say anything.
screw
I didn't
is
say anything.
is a certain size, well, they've got
Huh.
a drill bit for it. The last thing you want to do is try to screw something into a small hole. You know. So,
All right, continue.
so anyway, so the other thing, the the other thing
This
you
is
want.
a family show.
It is a family show. I'm talking technicalities here. I haven't
All
even.
right,
I mean, this is not Tim Tool time. Pamela Anderson
all right,
isn't going to come out, jump out of somewhere.
all right. Continue.
So anyway, the other thing, especially when you're securing the bracket, the wall mount, is you're probably going to get these bolts. They're not going to be screws. They're going to be bolts. So what you want to do, instead of using an old wrench, you want to get yourself, excuse me, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. The other thing you want to do in addition to the drill bits is you want to get yourself a good set of screw bits. That's pretty important too. Uh, the other item that's really important is a leveler. You want to make sure that your that your wall mount is level, and the only way you can accomplish that, oh, look at Hash Brownies right there.
We have a visitor.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, Lucky's right
Sorry.
here somewhere. Hey, Lucky.
All right.
Yeah, there he is. See? Yeah, he's a guest today. Oreo somewhere downstairs.
Alrighty.
But
So,
basically, you don't want to do it al ojo, seeing if something's straight. The best way is just get yourself a leveler. If it says it's straight, it's straight. If it's right in the middle, it's right in the middle. Even though sometimes it'll say that it's in the middle and it's not really in the middle, you know. And that's because the houses tend to shift and stuff like that.
right.
So sometimes that can happen. But you still want to use a leveler at any and all possible. And of course, as I mentioned, when you're securing the wall mount to the wall, you're going to use bolts. They're going to come with bolts. And so for that, you can use an old wrench, like an Allen wrench, but that's going to take you a while. So you want to invest in a good socket set so that you can actually get those bolts into the wall, because you'll have to drill the hole first, and typically it's a 1/4 inch drill bit that you'll use for the actual bolts that go to the wall. And of course, the last thing is you want to look at getting yourself a shop vac or borrowing a shop vac, because after you're drilling into the wall, you're going to have all that dust residue from the drywall. And if you run into situations with wood, you want to be able to clean all that up. But you definitely, as the title says, you don't want to go in dry. You want to have the
Again, I think you forgot one thing in that.
What did I
An
forget?
extra person. An extra person.
Yes, that is true. Well, in the old days, you're right. You needed an extra person to help you mount. But, TVs lately have become lighter.
Really?
They're actually lighter now. Once you take what is it? The desktop thing, they typically are lighter, but it always helps to have a secondary person to help you mount the TV. That's not to say that you can't mount it yourself, but it always helps to have an extra person available to help
Yes,
during the
sir.
mounting. You know, I'm gonna try to mount my TV here this weekend myself. I know that the TV I have right now mounted to the wall is heavier than the TV that I'm getting.
Uh-huh.
So I am gonna need help bringing that thing down. And of course, as you know, it's my bedrooms are upstairs, so that's gonna be a little bit more complex. But yeah, definitely, it's not a bad thing to have somebody there with you. But
Right.
I've seen some guys, what's wrong, Lucky? No, 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 you be it.
Why is he
Good boy.
growling?
I know. I don't know what he's growling about. What's wrong? What's wrong, Lucky? Yeah, he's our guard dog. He guards the family, right, baby boy? You guard the
Awesome.
family? Yeah, I know you do. Here, go. So, so yeah, it helps, but this process isn't difficult. I mean, I think the hardest thing for me has always been the leveling, because I'm pretty picky when it comes to how something looks. I mean, nothing irritates me more than seeing that something, that I missed it by an inch or two. And for most people, it doesn't matter, but for somebody like me, it matters. It bothers me for whatever reason. I mean, it's like the monitors that I have here, in front of me. There's like maybe a centimeter gap between both monitors, and I can't seem to get it tight as much as I want. I don't want to see the gap, but I've kind of just like don't look at it anymore. But sometimes I sit here and my OCD kicks in, and I'm like, I don't like that gap. And then my work monitors back here, well, they're not the same size, and they functionally work, but I just don't like the fact they're not the same size. It irritates me, you know. I don't know why. It just does. So
My neighbor told me a couple of weeks ago that he was mounting the TV and he missed the studs. So he moved a little bit to the left and he missed the studs again. He did the old fashioned way. So his wife said, "Leave it alone."
wow. He didn't have a stud
So,
finder?
no, no. He was doing it the old fashioned way.
Oh my gosh. You know,
So finally, he said he got it right and he never went back, hovered up the hose.
Well, the thing about it is if the holes are behind the TV, because nobody will ever see them, you know. But, if you're somebody that, doesn't care, you know, what's behind it, it's one thing. But for me, for whatever reason, I go through that process. I go through that problem, where it bothers me. And even when I've had to take a shortcut, and I've had to take shortcuts, the mere fact that I've had to take a shortcut bothers me because even though I've cosmetically concealed the problem and nobody else sees the problem, you know, um, the mere fact that I know that it's there, it's a problem. And sometimes I
Um,
won't sleep. It'll bother me. You know, it's crazy. I don't know why. You know.
some people are that way,
Well,
and there's nothing wrong with it.
it's like right now. One of the things that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to monitor the shows via my mixer, and that's the right way to do it. But for the entire year, my monitoring is coming from the computer. And so a lot of times what happens is I start noticing that my voice, there's a delay. You don't hear the delay, nobody else does, but I hear it on
You
the
do.
headset. And what that causes, there's actually a psychological thing that occurs. It happens with people that are on TV all the time and they're in the music industry, that it causes a reaction where your voice, your talk is delayed. So, what I've been trying to do is to try to get everything into the mixer, but I haven't been too successful. But it's been bothering me. I ordered some cables today to get the audio routed into the mixer so I don't have this problem. But a lot of times, my wife will tell me, "Well, why are you talking that way? You don't sound that way in real life. It seems like you have a speech impairment." And I said, "No, it's not me. It is me, but it's the mind playing tricks and preventing my voice from, like, last night. I was up at 1 o'clock in the morning for that launch, and I kid you not, I was so tired, and I wish SpaceX would stop launching stuff at 1 o'clock in the morning. But I was on last night, and I kid you not, if you look at that video, my voice, there was a lot of stuttering, a lot of pausing, but it was because I was tired. And then this constant delay on the monitoring has been bothering me. And so, it's one of those things. So this problem that I'm trying to solve, I've been trying to solve it for weeks, and even though it's not really a problem, it's a problem for me. So maybe I need a good psychiatrist or something to get.
Maybe, maybe.
I don't know. It's just weird, but anyway, like I said, I didn't get a 75-inch TV this year. I didn't get an 80, but I was fortunate enough to be offered a 65-inch TV that I'm thankful for it. And my job this weekend is to mount it using the mount that I have now, because that's a pretty sturdy mount. So I don't think I'm going to have an issue there. But what I'm thinking I'm going to have to do is I'm going to get a surge protector to put behind the wall that's powerful enough so that if there is a spike, it doesn't damage the equipment like it did the last time. Because I think that's what happened. At the end of the day, you do want to get good surge protection. APC is a pretty good brand. Most of these companies, when you buy their surge protectors, they guarantee protection on any equipment you connect for like X amount of years, like 5 years. So if your TV burns while they were connected to the surge protector, they'll actually replace it in case it
Yes.
gets damaged. So now, how long that replacement takes, I have no idea, because I Haven't heard of anybody that actually filed a claim with APC, but they've got X amount of years, or I don't know. I think there was like power or something. So that's something I didn't mention here. But yeah, definitely your surge protection is pretty important. I mean, here in the US, for the most part, we have very controlled power. You know, we know that we plug something into the wall, we're going to get 110 and 110. But if you live in other countries like Mexico, the power can vary. So in addition to the surge protector, you want to get a voltage regulator that you can then set to 110. So regardless of what comes down the pipe, high or low, you're always going to get 110. I mean,
Right.
I ran into a situation back, several years ago when I worked for another company where we bought all these PCs for one entire department, and the power supplies on those PCs were not as robust as they are now. And we started plugging them in, and one by one, the power
Right.
supplies were popping, boom, 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 boom. And end result, it was because the electricity wasn't regulated to a certain level. So we had to, over there, the regulators that we used were called variacs. And what basically happened is you set it, if you want 110, whatever comes in the pipe gets regulated to 110. So if you live outside the US, you also want to look at getting a voltage regulator just to protect your equipment. So,
Right.
you know. But anyway, did you get yourself a new TV this holiday?
No, I've been with my TVs for the past 10 years,
Yeah.
so no TV this year.
Well, believe it or not, I mean, we haven't had, new TVs in a long time. I mean, as you know, they work and they work forever, and I mean, most of us have more than one TV in the house, so if one drops dead, we just go watch TV in the other with the other one. And of course,
Yes,
now with
sir.
streaming, well, you can do that over your tablet, your phone, your
Hmm.
computer. So it's not like a big deal anymore, but you know, I really don't know, where it's going to go in the future. I mean, are we going to see 90-inch TVs, 100-inch TVs? I mean, I think eventually what's going to happen is we're going to end up having holographic or projection
Yes.
systems.
Yes.
So you physically will not even have anything on the wall or anything. I think that's where we're headed, down the road. So, but anyway, yeah, this is basically our last episode for the year.
Wow.
I want to thank you personally for sticking with me for all this time. I know it's not always easy, and the schedules are kind of tough, and we brought Doug along, and he's been a pretty good resource when it comes to Apple and some of the other things. The
Yes.
show's kind of grown, from what we started, back in November of 2022. I mean, we just started Black Friday specials, and we evolved into a technology show, and now we're covering SpaceX 24/7. Our shows are averaging a pretty good viewership count, so I want to thank you because, without you being there, we wouldn't be here today. I want to thank Doug too. He's contributed quite a bit.
Yes, he
We've
has.
got a new year coming up, so it's going to be another year of hopefully fun and excitement again. We should have some more shows with different content. Um, and of course, we've got our SpaceX coverage that's going to continue moving forward. And who knows? Who knows where we're going to take this? We've got a political season coming up at the city level,
Huh?
so you're going to see a few of my friends start appearing again. So I'm going to be extending invitations here shortly for that as well. So we've got a lot going on, and like I said, we've managed to, you know, do well, and 54 shows later we're still here, and we're on
That's the
more
good
than
part, Dan.
yeah.
The good part. All right, we have managed, and I want to thank you for having me on the show. There's many more people that are more qualified. All right, I don't want to get sentimental, but hey, all right, more qualified. All right, and have more knowledge. But you picked an everyday person.
Hey,
All right, and I want
you
to
know
thank you for that.
I wouldn't have it any other way. It's not just all about technology, and that's what I've tried to get to, is that it's more than just technology, but I wanted it to be different from the beginning. I didn't want
It
it to
is different.
be I didn't want it to be just like everybody else that's out there, with drama and gossip and innuendo. I wanted it to be educational. I wanted it to be informative, because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is we're trying to give people some insight in how technology could change their lives. And not only that, but we have a lot to be grateful for in the area. We've
Yes.
got a lot of opportunities that are popping, even though you hear certain sectors say that everything's bad. It's not bad. And
No,
I think we've done better than most when it comes to marketing this city and looking at everything that we've got going for it. And if
yes.
we can lay that foundation for the future, it'll be something that our kids and our grandkids and hopefully our great grandkids will be able to
One day,
appreciate. You
one
know,
day, sir. One day.
yeah. I mean, 100 years from now, when you and I are gone, these videos are still going to exist out there somewhere.
Somewhere they'll be somewhere, and hey, somebody's gonna search Dan Salinas, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
who's that other person with them? Like, oh, that was his best friend, all right? So yeah,
Uh,
I do want to wish everybody a happy New Year. I know 2022 has been tough for some, has been great for others, all right? Hopefully, 2023 will bring you guys, what you guys need, not necessarily want, but the needs,
yeah.
right? There's a difference between a want and a need,
Right.
right? In my opinion,
Yeah.
and health is number one.
Yeah.
Health,
It is. At
right?
the end of the day, we've got nothing but our health and our friends and our families, and
Yes,
that's really what we've got to, focus on. The last several years, we've been through hell and back, you know, together, really. We've lost a lot of friends and family along the way, and
yes.
we definitely need to count our blessings, because there are many blessings. I don't think that if COVID hadn't happened, we wouldn't be sitting here today in front of the camera. And I think that
That is true. Cause before COVID, it was different,
yeah,
right? It was
yeah,
different. COVID brought you to a place where you had to be in front of a camera,
yeah,
right? Speaking to your coworkers, speaking to your boss, speaking to your friends, your family. I attended several meetings via Zoom
yeah,
for my motorcycle association.
yeah,
I'm like, wow, never before had we done that,
yeah,
right? Meetings after meetings after meetings, right? Just going over stuff. You know, this this is something that I think is here to stay,
yeah,
and in my opinion, it's pretty good.
yeah.
Just
I
my
think so. I think so.
Once again, happy New Year to everybody. All
Yep.
right. Hopefully, we have a prosperous New Year. Be safe out there. Don't do anything crazy or stupid. All right. Remember, Big Brother is always watching.
Yep. Especially those with badges. Anyway, I don't think I could have said it any better, but everyone, thank you for watching us for an entire year, tuning in to the shows that you thought mattered, and we've got plenty more to go this coming year. And we hope that everyone has a great New Year's Eve and a great and prosperous New Year. And we will see you next week again. So,
Yes, sir.
thank you. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and have a good night.